You reach for the salt shaker without even thinking about it. It is just sitting there on the kitchen table right next to the pepper. You pick it up, give it a quick shake over your food, and add salt before you have even taken a single bite. The whole thing takes less than 2 seconds. It is completely normal, totally boring, and something you do every single day without a second thought. But if you could step back in time just a few thousand years, that tiny little glass shaker would make you richer than a king. People would gladly trade their land, their animals, and their lives just to get a small handful of those white crystals. And if you went back even further, to the time of early cavemen, you wouldn't even care about a shaker at all. You would be staring out across the empty wilderness, completely desperate, tasting dirt and tracking wild herds because your body was screaming out for something it was missing. That sudden craving you feel right now, that pull towards salty food, that feeling that plain food tastes flat and unfinished, that is not just a random preference. That is a loud, flashing alarm system built deep inside your body long before humans ever learned how to write, build cities, or walk upright. And today, we are going to look at how humanity went from licking dirty rocks in the middle of nowhere to putting salt on literally every single thing we eat. To understand why your brain loves salt so much, you have to look past the flavor. We aren't talking about taste at all. We are talking about pure electricity. Your heart uses salt to beat and pump blood through your veins. Your brain uses salt to send tiny electrical messages from one cell to another so you can think, move, and see. Without enough salt in your system, your blood pressure drops like a stone. Your muscles stop working, and your body completely shuts down in just a few days. Your body knows this. It has always known this. So it built a powerful alarm system, creating a craving so sharp, so deep, and so specific that you can actually feel it right now if you go long enough without eating any salt at all. Ancient humans felt that exact alarm ringing in their heads every single day. But unlike us, they had no grocery stores down the street, no neat little shakers on a table, and no maps to tell them where to find help. So how did they survive? How did they figure out how to answer an alarm when the grocery store didn't exist yet? They cheated. They watched the animals. Every single large animal on Earth needs salt, just like we do. If you travel to the wild plains of Africa, you could watch massive elephants walk for miles straight into dark, pitch-black underground caves. They use their heavy tusks to hack away at salty rock walls just to eat the stone. In North America, deer will walk out onto freezing winter highways just to lick the salty slush off the pavement. In the deep jungles, gorillas eat special wetland plants and mineral-rich river dirt just to get their fix. Early humans were smart, and they were close watchers of nature. They noticed what the animals were doing. They followed herds across the plains and memorized the exact spots where animals gathered over and over again. Places like bubbling mineral springs, dry salt flats, and banks of weird-smelling river clay. If a hunter in the group found a secret salt lick, they didn't keep it a secret. They brought the whole tribe there because everyone knew that a tribe running low on salt was a weak, dying tribe. Just picture it. Imagine a small group of early humans walking through a dry, scorching valley thousands of years ago. Everyone feels completely exhausted and weak. They aren't just hungry for meat, they have a deep, body-wide craving for minerals that makes their skin crawl. An older woman leads the group toward a spot she remembers from years ago. The dirt looks different here. It is covered in a pale, crusty white layer left behind by an old pool of water that dried up in the sun. The people drop straight to their knees. They take flat stones and their bare fingers, scraping the dirt away. Then, they eat the salty clay right off the ground. It doesn't taste clean or nice. It tastes bitter, sharp, and gross. But a few minutes later, something amazing happens. A deep, heavy relief washes over their tired bodies. Their cells soak up the minerals. They stay by that patch of dirt for a couple of days, stocking up. And then they pack up and move on. That was life for most of human history. Find the salt, use it all up, and keep moving. For wandering nomads, this lifestyle actually worked out fine. They hunted wild animals and ate their fresh meat and organs right away. The organs naturally gave them all the salt their bodies needed, without ever needing to mine or manufacture it. Their daily intake was right around what modern heart doctors say is the healthy sweet spot today. They didn't need shakers, because their food already carried the cure. Then, humans invented farming, and everything broke.
Instead of walking across the wilderness and hunting wild animals, people decided to settle down in permanent villages. They started planting fields of wheat, rice, barley, and millet. At first, this felt like a huge win because they didn't have to chase food anymore. But there was a massive hidden trap. Farmed grain has almost zero salt in it. Suddenly, millions of people switched to a diet that completely starved their nervous systems of sodium. The low-grade background craving that early humans had lived with for ages suddenly turned into a roaring emergency. People couldn't just wander around hoping to bump into a salt lick by accident anymore. There were too many mouths to feed, and the grain wasn't cutting it. They had to figure out how to make their own salt. About 8,000 years ago, at places like Lunca in Romania and salt lakes in China, people finally figured it out. They built big fires next to natural mineral springs. They filled heavy, crude clay pots with salty water and boiled them over the flames for hours and hours. As the water slowly boiled away into steam, thick layers of white salt crystals were left behind at the bottom of the pots. This wasn't just a lucky accident. It was a full-scale factory system. People came back to these same springs year after year, generation after generation. The fires were so hot and the water was so heavy that the clay pots cracked and broke all the time. But the workers didn't stop. They just made hundreds of new pots, working day and night to keep the salt flowing.
And once they had extra salt, they didn't just keep it in the village. They packed it up in animal skins, loaded it onto their backs, and traded it with other villages miles and miles away. Salt became a massive commercial product long before humans even invented writing or built kingdoms. As those early villages grew into giant, powerful civilizations, salt turned into absolute power. In ancient Rome, soldiers were sometimes given a portion of their pay in salt blocks, which is actually why we call our monthly paychecks a salary today. In ancient Egypt, priests used massive amounts of salt to preserve mummies because they believed it kept things pure and stopped them from rotting away. Later on, kings and governments realized a terrifying truth. Every single human being needs salt to stay alive, and if everyone needs something to live, that means you can tax it and get super rich. In France, the government created a brutal, hated salt tax called the gabelle. It was so unfair and so harshly punished that it made the poor peasants furious, helping to spark the anger that led directly to the French Revolution. Centuries later, a man named Mahatma Gandhi led a famous peaceful march all the way across India to the ocean just to make his own illegal salt. Why? Because a foreign empire was taxing a basic mineral that regular people needed just to keep their hearts beating. People fought bloody wars over salt mines. Traders across the giant Sahara Desert used to swap slabs of rock salt weight for weight against pure gold. Think about that. Gold could not keep you alive in the middle of a hot desert, but a block of salt could. And then, in the blink of an eye, everything changed forever. During the Industrial Revolution, factories figured out how to mine salt with heavy machines and ship it all over the world in massive quantities. In just a few short years, salt went from being one of the rarest, most heavily guarded treasures on Earth to the absolute cheapest item on the grocery store shelf. Today, you can walk into a store and buy a massive container of salt for less than $1. It is hidden inside almost every single processed food, snack, and meal you buy before you even open the package. The shortage is completely gone. But your brain didn't get the memo. Your body is still running on ancient software built for a world where salt was nearly impossible to find. When you eat something salty today, your brain still throws a massive party and floods your head with happy chemicals, thinking you just survived a terrible life or death crisis. The system that evolved to track down a rare mineral was never built for a world where salt is inside everything we touch. So the next time you sit down at the table and reach for that shaker without even looking, take 1 second to think about what you are actually doing. You are finishing a 300,000-year search. The hard part of human history is finally over, but the ancient alarm system inside your head is still turned on, waiting for a crisis that is never coming back. That is why salt runs our world, and why your brain will never stop craving it.